Horse racing has long been known as the sport of kings. This year, some decided it was time to hail the queen. 40 years ago, Mildred Williams set out to prove to the world that women can be just as successful and just as competitive as their male counterparts. This is Mildred's story.
That's going back a long way. But I just determined I was going to do it. I loved horses. I was helping train them and break colts, and I thought, this is good. I'm going to do it. Some of them were quite surprised the first time they raced with me. I know one gentleman said after the race, he said, I almost fell off my cart when I got up beside you, realizing it was a woman.
Driver and close friend Ann Curran explains how Mildred inspired her and the hearts of so many others.
And my dad and my uncle raced with Mildred Williams in Connaught and Rideau Carleton, and they always talked about how tough she was and what a great driver she was. She had her license in 1965. The Canadian Trotting Association ruled against licensing any more women to drive at pari-mutuel tracks. All the women who held licenses could keep them, but they weren't going to give any more licenses. And Mildred was very vocal against that and appeared in numerous newspaper clippings where she talked against it. So I thought, you know, she was certainly one who paved the way for us. She did try to get her license in the United States, and they denied her license, and she still has all the letters where they kept denying her her license. And then they invited her to drive in a World Driving Championship, and she said she would only go if they gave her her license. And they gave it to her. In 1973, Canadian Trot touted Mildred as being the winningest woman in recorded harness racing history in the U.S. and Canada, and the First Lady of harness racing at the age of 57. I think that's just unbelievable that she was still doing so well at that age, and it gives me hope for my career. They didn't keep records back then the way that they keep them now, so we only know that she had more than 400 lifetime wins, and she really wasn't in that many all-women's races. Mildred has just been a real inspiration to all of us.
Picked up a magazine from way back, looking at all the crazy things we've done.
As the daughter of a 70s racing legend, it was only natural for Ann Curran to turn what was once a hobby into a profession, fulfilling a lifelong dream.
My dad was a driver, and he drove in Ontario and Quebec, and he was third leading driver in North America in 1975, and he got me my start in the business. I left the business for a while. I couldn't wait to race again, so I knew that I needed to go ahead and get my license. I raced in the amateur race in Elmer for a while, and I really enjoyed that. And I always felt that all-women racing would be very well received.
Throughout the years, there was little opportunity for women like Ann to race in series or carts specifically designed for female drivers. There was a niche in the industry that needed to be filled. But would anyone be up for the challenge?
I always thought it was a really good idea. I always wished that someone would organize it, someone would promote women racing in the sport. I waited and I waited and I waited, and finally I did it myself.
The Mildred Williams Series is on.
I thought, the time is now. I just got on the phone, I got email addresses, I got phone numbers, and I just phoned places. And I thought the worst thing that people can say is no. And if they say yes, perfect.
Rightfully named after the female pioneer of harness racing, the Mildred Williams Driving Series began in April and was held at 9 tracks across Ontario and Quebec. The women who have been taking part in this series explain why an event of this nature is so important for females in any sport.
So the idea is just to promote women driving, get them to the racetracks. And my way of thinking is that if you have the 20-year-old women there, you'll have the 20-year-old men there. And if you have the young mothers there, you'll have the future of harness racing.
Quand Anne nous a parlé de ça, moi Moi, d'abord, juste conduire, c'est déjà beaucoup. Puis conduire pour la série Mildred, j'ai trouvé ça que c'était une bonne cause. Puis c'est ça, je pense que c'est important pour les femmes de se faire valoir un peu dans cette série-là.
It's not as bad as early years, I suppose, but it's still just people don't take the women seriously. A lot of people feel that the women can't drive or, you know, can't compete with the men. And in some cases, I think some of the women believe that. You have to have a very strong personality to get behind the gate and say, the heck with it, you know what, I can do this. You know, I get parked, so do the top drivers. We all get roughed up and we all have good trips. It's just the way it is.
If there's one thing that all the women in the series agree upon, it's that this is only the beginning of a long journey for them, started by Mildred so many years ago.
There's room for women in this business as long as they can persevere.
Je pense que les femmes prennent de plus en plus de place dans l'industrie, puis je pense que ça va continuer.
Well, the vision has come through even greater than I ever hoped. And every racetrack that we've been at so far has asked us if we'll come back next year.
I just hope it grows and develops, that women are recognized that they can do anything a man can do.